Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for this episode 19 here on New Frontier with me, Farmer Murphy. Well, it is August 1st. It is 10:30 in the morning and our money is up to 260,000 thanks to the sale of those extra silage bales and our wood products. And as promised, precision farming is in. So that means we have some work to do in our fields. And you can see here, Courseplay and I, we were having an argument whether we were going to have a straw swath or not. It took a while, but I finally won that argument, but that was unintentional. So that is why you see that laying there. But I have spent some money. One of the things we need to do first off is scan our fields with precision farming. So I bought this rig here. I did toy with the idea of leasing it, but we are going to be needing it pretty regularly because we're going to be expanding our fields every year. So I decided, heck, I'd just buy it. It wasn't terribly expensive. It was under 30,000. Now we had sold our mulcher, as you may recall, and so we need to replace that. I wanted to upgrade, and I found this unit here, the Horsch. Now it's right on the cusp of our horsepower, so I leased this because it's also a pretty expensive item. It's like 80 grand. So if we don't have any trouble pulling it, we'll likely buy that out. But for right now, it's leased. But as I said, the first thing we need to do is scan our fields. So let's get that on the go here. Get our little Kubota fired up. Makes a nice unit for doing this sort of thing. We need our map on. Zoom out here a little bit. Unfold it. I am hoping that they bring out the modded version of this scanner that was available in FS25 because this is going to take a little while with this scanner. Now we could have purchased the field scans or basically hired a contractor in, but that would have cost us pretty much double. So I decided we could do it for ourselves. I mean, these fields, our crop fields aren't going to be too bad, but our grass field, that bad boy is going to take a little while. Anyways, I was saying there was a modded version. Now it had a really cheaty one where, with about 3 or 4 scans, it seemed like you could do an entire map. But there was one that was basically scanned the area of twice the size of this particular unit. It was a little bit cheaty because it only charged you 1.5 times, so you did gain a little bit, but that's the one that was my default one that I used. Just a tiny bit cheaty. But it would make doing this job a lot quicker. But it won't be too bad here on our little fields. Now, we can plant our, I forgot which one. Either our canola, I think it's our canola that we can plant this month and our barley next. But I might have that backwards. Before we actually do seed, I guess we'll get that sorted out, obviously. But I think that'll be the last thing we'll do before we hit logging season, is get those crops in the ground. Well, I guess we've got to do one more cutting of grass too, but that for sure I'll do off camera because we just went through all that. But I'll probably get a little bit earlier start on the logging this year because I'm going to change my philosophy regarding logging for this winter. I have limited myself to an hour of the harvester, an hour of use of the harvester every month. I am not going to do that this winter. I'm going to go more for getting certain areas cleared, and we'll take a look at that here once we get closer to the end of the episode, because I don't think there'll be another episode between now and when the logging continues. Like I said, we'll have this episode where we get our crops, our fields ready, and I believe it's the canola in the ground, and that will be this episode. And then off camera, I'll get the other field done next month, get the grass off, and get the logging going. Now, there's no way to do this without having some overlap. You just have to do the best you can. Kind of is what it is. Just about got her licked up here. Now we'll have to scan it. It'll likely need some lime, and then we'll be able to seed it because we've got a oh, and we can't forget about mulching it. We'll actually lime it next before we mulch. I got a little ahead of myself there. Now we're going to fold this up, and I can't remember which button sends off these samples. There we go. So we'll see how much that costs us here in a little bit. But for the time being, we're done with this. The other fields will take a little bit longer because they're a little larger. But that grass field's going to take considerably longer. Alright, we'll just park this here for now. Now I got set up to do the mulching next, and actually we should put the lime down next. So let me get that situation corrected here, and I'll bring you back in just a minute. Well, there we go. We are ready to put lime down. While I was getting hooked up, the charges must have come in for the soil sampling because I missed them, so I didn't see the exact number. But basically, we were down to 260,000 when I went to purchase the lime, so approximately $2,000. And if we take a look here, we can take a look at the results of our scan. Here is our field here. And so it is made up of loam and sandy loam, so not a bad field. And if we click on here, yeah, 110% potential yield on that field. So, hey, that's not too bad. It could have been a whole lot worse. So now let's get zoomed out here a little bit. I did check and make sure automatic application rate is selected. Oh, I guess we better unfold it here or not too much is going to happen. Oh, that's not so bad. We don't need to put a huge amount of lime down. Sometimes when I've done this, it's like you got to raise it a whole point. Boy, that takes a lot of lime. This shouldn't be too bad. Well, it's taking a little bit more in this area. Now there is, I had speculated on Monteith when we were doing this, that a little bit of the unevenness of the spread was causing kind of the striping in the field. And that indeed turned out to be the case. There is a button or an option within settings that you can put unrealistic spread or a realistic spreading on. Default is realistic, which means that you get a little bit of an uneven distribution, like out towards the edges. It may not be absolutely perfect, And so I've just left that. I'm fine with that. At least we know what's happening. But if it is annoying anybody, there is, if you go in settings, right at the bottom, you can find a place to turn that off. And theoretically, it'll be perfect all across the field. I haven't actually tried it, but that's what I understand. Missed a little bit more. Never got cleaned up, I see. Oh, speaking of which, I forgot to tell you what the results of the harvest were. Um, I'll have to, I've got it written down. I'll have to try and remember to do that here once we're done the liming. I'll grab it and look at it. But I did record what we got from each of our fields for harvest. Now I just got to remember to tell you guys. And I did keep all of that product like I said I would. It's all sitting in our silo. Or almost all of it, because I did give a little bit more to pigs and chickens. Now this, later this fall and into the winter, I think Grandma and Grandpa are going to have built their own little place out here. They're not getting rid of their place in town, but they do want to have a place of their own out here on the farm. It wasn't bothering me. The house is plenty big. I was happy for them to have them, or I was happy to have them stay with me. That's what I was trying to say. But they just feel more comfortable having their own place. So, oh shoot, forgot to turn that on. Yeah, so on next episode I should be able to give you a little tour of that. I'm thinking, if all goes to plan, they have a spot picked out that they'd like to build their, it's almost like a tiny home in it from what I understand. And who knows, we may even have Grandma's bakery facility in by then. Just have to see how that goes. I suspect if it isn't in this winter, it'll be in come spring. Yeah, so if I can remember to turn the spreader on this time. Ah, much better. See, I did figure out how to get the straw swath off eventually. I just wasn't paying close enough attention. I know some of you will find that hard to believe. Give ourselves a little bit more room here. Now, I know you've seen this operation before, or nothing new about it other than the fact that we have automatic application right now. So putting just the correct amount of lime that the field requires. How are we doing time-wise? Oh, we're good. It's only 11:30 here on the farm. I was thinking Once we got this mulched, I go and get the other fields all taken care of off camera, and then we seed. But I think I'll change my mind on that. Got a good opportunity to record here in real life, so I think we'll just take this field right through. Oh shoot, no we won't, because this isn't a, this field's going to stay empty. All right, well, so I guess we will be taking a bit of a pause for station identification. Yeah, one field's going to have to sit empty, and it was this one, the smallest of them. I was going to leave sit empty over the winter. So I guess we'll have to go with my original plan. Yeah, that's fine. Hey, look at this. We're not going to run out of lime with just a tiny little strip to go. That's like hard to believe. That is definitely not the Farmer Murphy way. Usually we'd have just a tiny little bit we'd have to go and get some more lime for. Now I do lime every crop rotation. I did a test in FS22, and the number was, if you didn't lime, like it would register as perfect this year, next year it'd be good. If you didn't lime and get it back to perfect, you'd lose 6% yield. Now I haven't tested that in FS25, but I am going to run on that same assumption. So we'll actually be liming every year our fields. But now, after doing this major application this year, it'll just take a tiny little dusting next year when we come time to, you know, put crops in the field again. Just the first application after you put in precision farming can be a little bit heavy, but after that, it just takes a tiny bit. Like we probably do all of our current fields with just one spreader load. Okay, let's get unhooked from this and see how we make out pulling this. Should be fine. Our land's pretty flat, and we exceed the horsepower limit that's required by a tiny little bit, but and I just did, you know, it was a fair chunk of change. I've got my fingers crossed that a tree harvester will show up in the used market before winter time. So I'm kind of saving some money for that. I don't know. In FS22, I was pretty unlucky with that used market. But I must say, in FS25, I've been pretty darn lucky with it. I've gotten uh, uh, pretty timely purchases out of there, I must say, as a general rule. I'm pretty happy about that and pretty surprised because that's definitely not the Farmer Murphy way. There we go. Now I think this thing, yeah, 20 kilometers an hour, so it moves right along. Now after this operation, we'd be ready to seed. If we were going to seed this field, but we're going to do that, but we'll do it in the spring. And actually, come springtime, it'll be a much larger field. Well, oh, much larger might be a tiny bit of an exaggeration, but it'll be definitely larger. And we might put corn in it next spring. rather than the sorghum. We just get a higher volume of pig food, and we can also make flour from corn, I believe. I'll have to check into that, but I mean, they do make corn flour. I think there's a production that will allow us to do that, and Grandma can make some cornbread then. And that's pretty tasty stuff. Am I going to sneak by this tree here? I am. Hard to beat warm cornbread out of the oven, lathered in butter, and maybe just a little bit of honey on it. Ooh. Yes, sirree. That is good stuff. I know there is a more flour production. I just don't know if corn is included in that. I haven't looked at that, but I will be. Yeah, seems to be having no problem pulling this at all. So if a tree harvester doesn't come up by the time I lease one or have to lease one to do the logging, then we'll buy this out. Because I think we'll keep it. It's doing a pretty good job for us, and certainly much faster. It's over twice the size of our other mulcher. Our other one was like 5.2 meters, and I think this is 12.2, I believe it is. Something like that. Pretty good size anyway. As big a mulcher as we can pull with our current horsepower anyway. Sorry, but I don't know if it's what's worse, dragging you through the trees or swinging you around so I don't drag you through the trees. It's probably pretty close to 6 of one, a half a dozen of the other. Now, at some point, we're going to have to, we're going to need more than 3 crop fields. Can't just keep making these existing fields we have bigger. We're going to have to split them up and have a different crop or a different field available for different crops is what I was trying to say. And eventually we're going to have to do either a little bit of spuds or um, sugar beets. It's the last thing we need that we're having to buy to feed our pigs. I have not decided which one of those we're going to dabble in. That decision has not been made yet, but one of the two. It's too bad that we can't feed the pigs some of the new vegetables like the red beets or carrots, something like that, because they definitely would eat it if that's what you wanted to do with those products. Because from what I understand, the yield on carrots is pretty good. So, and the little bit that the pigs need of kind of a root crop You could do carrots and feed a little bit. You'd probably have enough wastage after you sorted them out uh, to feed them. Probably the same would go for any of those vegetables, peas or the red beets or the parsnips. I don't know if pigs would eat parsnips. I suppose they probably would. Well, you know what? I think I better leave you there because I don't want to run out of time here. It's just going to be more of the same. I'm just going to take that out of there, straighten it out a little bit. This is really kind of an odd shaped field. Yes, I will leave you there. Now, probably won't see you till tomorrow. It'll probably take the rest of the day. I will get the other fields done, and then we'll come back in, and I will have organized which crop it is we can put in this month and which field we're going to put it in, and we'll get some seeding done and some crop in the ground. So I'll see you likely tomorrow. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the farm. It is the following day. It's 9:30 in the morning. We're having a bit of a lazy start here. It did take the majority of the day to get our fields prepped, but they have all been scanned, limed, and mulched, and we are now ready to seed. But we were too close to dark to be able to do that yesterday. So we're going to take care of that here today. But I have some explaining to do, and not just why our bank account is now down to 25,000. Actually, that's a pretty easy one. I was in the used store again, but I'll show you what we've got here in just a minute. But I wanted to mention, you may have noticed that, like particularly if you take a look at the grass, how vibrant and green it is, and in general how the colors are popping out. A little bit too much, I think, when I'm recording, and that's why I mention it. What happened is, in order to fix the issue I was having where my recordings were randomly stopping, the kind of the last suggestion I could find to try was to uninstall all of my NVIDIA drivers and reinstall them, which I did. After which, the actual game looked better when I was just playing. The colors like popped out. It just looked really, really good. So I thought, oh man, this is awesome. But I noticed when I'm recording that it gives it another extra boost, and I think it's a little bit too much of a good thing. And where I really noticed it was when we were mulching our field down there. I noticed that the mulch texture was like a golden brown rather than kind of like more of a straw color. And my initial thought was, well, maybe it was like sunset. It had that kind of hue you would get at when the sun was going down. But of course, we were at midday, and I was going to mention it at the time, but I just didn't. And then as soon as I stopped the recording, I noticed that the texture in the field changed back to more of like a straw color. Um, no, no, I don't know if it's a lighting thing or just quite what the issue is, but I double checked it, started the recording again. Yep, went back to that golden color and then stopped it and then became what I would say a little bit more muted. Anyways, uh, I looked to see if there were any settings. I couldn't find any specifically for color and that when recording. Um, and I don't know if it's just this map. This is the first recording I've tried since then. And like I said, I don't think it's horrible. It's different, but I think it's just a little bit too much. Like I said, a little bit too much of a good thing. I'd like it to be like. what I see when I'm not recording. So if you notice that and wondering what's going on, well, that's what happened. And I'll see how it looks on Monteith, if it's just an issue on this map. And if I need to, Google and I will do some research and see if we can't do something about it. But that's that situation. Now, a longtime viewer of the channel had mentioned in a recent episode that I did not have a farm dog, and he was 100% correct. So that has been fixed. We do now have a farm dog, as we should have. That was a good catch by Jack Sarge. And there he is there, Harrison. And so he can help keep the wild critters away from the livestock. So thank you, Jack Sarge. That was a good catch. All right. I think that's enough of that. So I will meet you down at the shop and I'll show you where our money went. So I'll catch up with you in just a minute. And there it is there. That came up in the shop nearly 50% off. I think it was like 47.6, something like that. And I couldn't let that go. And if we jump in it here, it's got a fair number of hours on it, 24 hours. So, and you can see it needs some repair, but I just couldn't let that go by. Oh, and I take a look at it here. Boy, it looked a lot more battered in the pictures when I saw it online. I'm curious. Warning, PC mod incoming. Going to use the mobile repair center here. No, it needs $17,000 of repainting and the paint condition is like at 50%. Looks pretty good though. I certainly wouldn't spend 17 grand repainting that. Maybe Grandpa Walter snuck down here and did some touch up on it. Who knows? But anyways, that actually that was pretty good timing because we can put that to good use here, probably starting next month, maybe the month after. Like I said, I've had really good luck in the FS25 used store, and I don't know if I should go out and buy a lottery ticket or not bother because I'm using it all up there. Anyway, so that is why we are out of money again. So I've got our cedar set up here, and I have, done my homework this time. We are putting in canola, and actually, let's take a look at the map here. So first off, as it turns out, this first field we did that we scanned together is our best field. It has our best soil types and gives us our best yield. This field here is not bad. You can see it's got a big swath of loam in it, but it's also got a big chunk of silty clay. And it's kind of unfortunate, but where we're going to put our feedlot in here is going to eat up some of this loam. But hey, it is what it is. This is our largest field, and that's where we're going to put our barley in next month. And what I'm going to do on that field next winter is I'm just going to straighten this edge out is about all that's going to happen. And then that field uh, will be, well, stay in that configuration for the time being. On our grass field, I'm going to take and square off this corner and so we can turn that all into grass. These two fields here where our biggest changes are going to be. They're going to be pushed out to our property line here. And originally, I had said I was going to remove a number of these trees here in this area. This is where our drive comes in, and then this is our shop area. But I came in the other day, drove in, and thought, man, that looks really nice. I do like having the shop area totally blocked from the road by trees. So I'm going to leave that alone. I'm just going to come straight back like this, and the same over here and I'll square this up and this will be our cornfield. The only thing I will do, the trees kind of thin out here a bit in our property line. I will probably, once we get back here ways, may kind of angle them so they're close to joining up and I'll just leave a staging area there. And if time allows, if I get all that done, although that's a big one, I might buy this area here and put in another field. There's not that many trees here in this area. So that won't take too long to do. It's this one here. The trees are really thick. We're going to make a ton of money out of doing that. So that is the plan. That's what I'm hoping to get done this winter. So it's more of a goal oriented than like last couple winters. I was only doing so much time, spending only so much time in the winter doing it. And it was like 21 grand an hour for that tree harvester. So now we own it, so we don't have to worry about that. Oh, I thought I had started the engine. Guess not. So you notice there's no fertilizer in our seeder. We are going to fertilize. Well, basically, we'll have to do it next month, and will be one pass. Interesting thing here, kind of, you'll notice the difference in the two textures. Um, Now, this field here to the right, the one we're going to put our canola in, interestingly, it showed as already being mulched. That's where our sorghum was. It hadn't been mulched, and the sorghum was, was still standing. Uh, but when I went and looked, that's what it said. It had already been mulched. So it's kind of interesting. It knocked it down, but it didn't change the texture at all. So we just have the line, and then over here, of course, um, it it did a kind of a mulch texture. That's kind of interesting. Get this unfolded here. Now, as usual, I had spent a lot of time talking last time. I'm going to try and cut some of it out so we can show more of this seeding. Although there is nothing special about the seeding other than it does put variable rate seed down, but nothing you can really see. The biggest difference being we're not putting any fertilizer down. So I think once we're done with this, the next time we'll meet is in spring. And I will basically put our barley in. Of course, once we seed it, we've got to roll it. That's nothing new at all there. And then once the crop comes out of the ground, then we can fertilize it, and we'll have to put crop sensors on one of our tractors to do that. I don't know if that modded farmall will be able to take crop sensors, but this one we're in right now, its base game, it certainly will. And I don't have enough time to show that this episode, and I don't think it's worthy of building an episode around, showing the fertilizing with precision farming. So we'll certainly have lots of opportunity to do that in the future. So that's why I think I will, once I leave you here, the next time we'll see you is with a nice fat bank account in the spring. You can see how thick those trees are in there. That's going to take some time. Certainly not going to be able to do it at 1 hour a month. That's why I wanted to get a more of an early start on it too. So that's why that harvester showing up like it did was very advantageous. Worked out really well, actually. I am really hoping that I don't burn out on the logging before I can buy that other plot of land, and so we can have an extra field. But I'm biting off a pretty good chunk. But it will really fatten up our bank account, and that will allow us to do a pretty nice expansion come spring. What I'm hoping to do is get our feedlot in, and basically all our cow pens in, or our animal pens I should say, and to start to load them up. Oh, I should have done it down that way. Oh, it doesn't matter. It's all got to get done anyway. So that's a big part of what I'm hoping to spend the money on. To get our other breeding pen in, and then our actual feedlot built, and then to add more animals to all our pens. And of course, I mentioned that Grandpa Walter, um, and Grandma and Grandpa Walter are going to have their place. So I'd like to get that production in as well. Although that's not going to be a big spend, I don't think. You can see here, though, in front of me, how much more open it is on that section of land. So we can gain arable land there pretty quickly. It's not nearly as many trees to take out as there is here on the other side. It'll keep me busy for sure, keep me out of trouble. So if you see a couple Monteith episodes before you see another one on here, you'll know why. But I can knock those trees down pretty darn quick with that harvester. We've been funding a lot of the expansion on the farm with the logging, and I want to get to the point where the farm is funding its own growth, and we're just doing the logging to gain arable land that we need. And after this winter, we should be pretty good on the fields for a little bit, I'm thinking. But I don't think it's going to take us very long actually to outgrow this cedar. Our planter's not bad. It's a pretty good size, but after this winter, we might be thinking about upgrading this. Of course, we'll need to upgrade some horsepower too, because I don't know how much bigger a cedar we'd be able to pull with this tractor. We'd have to look. What I'll do is I will uh, prep all of the new areas for fields. But if I'll stop here and jump out. What I'll do is I'll just leave a little strip just along the edge here that we'll have to take out and to join them up. And of course that little strip will need to be scanned and limed. Suppose I could try very carefully coming up to the edge of the field. I suppose if we lost a little bit of crop, it wouldn't be the end of the world. Then I wouldn't have to, could just plow it and scan it and lime it, and we wouldn't have to go back and uh, do any little cleanup. I might give that a try. What I could do is, if you lease a fairly small implement, it's easy to control. So do that edge so you don't lose too much, like a small plow. It's one that mounts on the 3-point. Although our current plow actually is 3-point mounted, so we could pour. If a guy is just careful and patient and take your time, you could probably do it just fine without hardly losing any crop. And my thinking is, when we bring you back in, that'll all be done and we'll be ready to kind of decide what we're going to put in those fields and how we're going to deal with it. Because like this field and the field across the way there will already be planted, we'll have crop growing in it. But we want to utilize that used space as soon as we can. Oh, we'll figure it all out. Get the darn trees out of the way first. Step one. Once we get that done and with the field created, we'll figure out what we'll do with it. Our main crops here on the farm will be wheat, barley, corn, and canola. That's what we're going to want to have in regular rotation. And then, of course, like I mentioned, we're going to have to do something about spuds. And I do have other plans that I will fill you in on at the appropriate time. I do have to admit the colors on the vehicles look really good. Like, just a little bit too bright though, I think. Just like I said, when I'm not recording, it looks just excellent, in my humble opinion. Well, I am sure I have recorded more than I can actually keep, but I will have to leave you there. I'll hope you'll come back and join me of the next episode. Like I said, there may be a couple Monteiths in there, likely will be, and you can see where we're at and what we can do on the farm come spring. Going to be big changes. Likely more equipment too. I can't imagine I'll stay out of the used store once the money starts coming in again. I gotta think we'll have somewhere between $2 and $3 million to spend. I'm thinking. I mean, pretty significant because we earned just about $1 million last year. Very close. And I'm going to take out a whole lot more trees this year. But we ought to be able to do some damage with that and move things forward. But I am going to have to leave you there for this episode. So if you're still with me, I really appreciate you watching. If you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want to see when other content like this lands, hit that old notification bell. But for this episode here on New Frontier, it's Farmer Murphy signing off.